Another crucial piece of kit that you need in your preparedness plan, whether it be EDCs, bug out bags, battle belts, chest rigs, it's flashlights. Now, flashlights are absolutely critical to your level of preparedness so that you can see in the dark. Now, the thing is that the flashlight game is complicated these days. There's so many different options, and there's so much to consider when you are looking for a flashlight, whether it's going to be EDC or bug out or grid down at your house. We're going to dive into what matters today when it comes to flashlight, what some great options are, and which one you might consider getting this holiday season for either yourself or for a loved one. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the One Row. Today we're talking flashlights. This is my EDC. This is a Through Night Archer Pro S. I really dig it. It's a great flashlight. And well, I'm going to show you a bunch of the different flashlights I have, their intended purposes, which ones that I highly recommend, which ones are good. And but before we get into it, please come check out our live streams on Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. Now, there's a lot you really want to consider when you're looking at purchasing a flashlight. And the biggest one is function. What are you buying it for? Again, I have an EDC flashlight, which I've shown you already. But this isn't the same flashlight that I'm going to put onto my battle belt or put into a chest rig or carry as my primary in a bug out situation. So obviously we're size and weight constrained, and there's also a lot of functionality that we may or may not want depending on the purpose of the flashlight. Now, before we get too far into it, I do have to give a huge shout out and thank you to Olight for providing this Arc Pro for this video, doing a review of it. I didn't get compensation for this light other than they sent it to me. Now, I have bought a lot of Olight products in the past. I have multiple Valkyrie Olights for my pistols. I do like Olight as a brand, so I was very excited that they reached out and were willing to send me this for review. This is a 1500 lumen flashlight, 4 different lights in one. It has a blue light, then it has a flood mode, then it has a throw mode, and it has a laser built into it. So it has all that capability built into one light. Great pocket clip on this one. The cool thing about it, it is USB charged. You can use USB-C, or it actually uses Olight's magnetic charging system, which I have a ton of them. But this is the most advanced flashlight that I now have in the inventory. I am really impressed with it. And again, thank you so much to Olight for sending this out. There's a link in the description below for all of these flashlights, but the Olight will be at the top. So if you want to go pick one out, I definitely recommend it. And you'll see the results outside here in just a little while. I do want to dive into just some of the basics of flashlights because there's a lot to consider. And if you aren't familiar with it, the numbers, they're throwing out Candela, they're throwing out Lumens, they're throwing out throw distances and all these other things. And if you don't know what they are, it can be really hard to understand and figure out what you want to prioritize based on the purpose of the flashlight that you're trying to get a flashlight for. Now, lumens is the first topic we're going to talk about, and it's not necessarily just about lumens. Think that's the brightness that comes out of the lights, the total brightness, but that can be impacted by a lot of things, primarily by the beam pattern, whether it's a throw that's really focused in one direction, so it's got a really good throw, or whether it's flood, it's got a very wide beam, so you can see all around. The other thing you want to consider is Candela, which is the intensity. So for example, 1000 lumen light with a tight hotspot throws much further than a 2000 lumen floodlight. So you kind of have to pay attention to the throw distances and compare that to the lumens, which is really your Candela. Throwers tend to have a higher Candela with a tight beam. They're good for searching and signaling and really reaching out and seeing what you're potentially looking for at night. Floods are a little bit different. So they're really good for like up close kind of stuff when you're walking, or if you have a group, for example, that you're walking with the whole group at night, you might want a flood so everybody gets a little bit of light. And the other good purpose for flooding is for like room clearing. So if I'm doing like a sweep of my house, I don't necessarily need a throw focused flashlight that goes 300 meters if I'm inside the house. I want something that really throws a wide beam. So when I turn it on, it floods the entire room with light. Now I know there's tricks to shoot it on the ceiling and We're going to keep it basic today. Another factor that you want to consider with your flashlights is the battery and what kind of batteries it uses. So a lot of days now you get rechargeable flashlights where there's actually a USB charger built into the flashlight. So you literally plug a USB directly into this. You never open it up and actually extract the battery inside of this. You just unscrew the head, plug in the charger, and recharge it. They also have flashlights, obviously the old school ones that, just take, AA's, AAA's, CR123 batteries. And then there's actually ones, some of them are rechargeable, where the flashlight comes with a battery that has the USB capability. So you have to pull the battery out, but then you can just replug this in. And if this battery starts to wear out over time, you can just replace it. But whatever you choose, that's something for you to consider when you're, looking at your bug out kit, for example, and you really want to focus on rechargeables, right? You don't want disposable batteries necessarily. Maybe you do, and there's some argument to be made for certain flashlights being disposable battery focused. And obviously with a built-in USB charging battery, the battery chemistry over time is going to degrade, and you are going to, over the life of that flashlight, lose some of that rechargeability and some of that total output capability. You also want to consider regulation. A lot of flashlights these days, particularly the USB charging ones, when you first charge them, they have a certain output. And what ends up happening is there's a curve of, here's the time on the bottom, and you have the output of the battery, and it degrades over time. So when I first charge this up, for example, maybe it's got a really great charge, a really great beam, but once it gets to 75%, it's dropped, the output's dropped, and then it drops to 50, and sometimes those can be very flat and then drop suddenly. Sometimes they actually have real strong gradients down. The way I look at it is, if I have an EDC battery or an EDC focused flashlight, I don't care if it steps down a little bit over time. For me with an EDC, I'm looking for more size, weight considerations, carryability, and then I also want the tail switch, because some flashlights are turn on and off with a button on the top as opposed to on the tail. That's the tail of it. The actual beam comes out here, the tail is here, and some actually turn on and off here on the neck as opposed to on the tail. So for an EDC one, I don't want one that is on the neck. I want something that when I pull it out of my pocket, bring it up, I can just actuate it with the tail cap. And I also want the tail cap to always do the same thing every time. I don't have to worry about, to get the high beam, I don't want to have to push, right? To get to what I want it to do. I want to know if I just push it on, it's going to go to the high beam right where I want it every time. Now, you can obviously change things around, but this one works for me. Now, when you get into some really, really powerful flashlights, what ends up happening is they have thermal regulation. And what that is because the beam coming off generates so much heat that if it's on for more than 60 or 90 seconds, it actually risks melting components in the flashlight. So on some of those really high outputs, 1500, 2000 plus lumen type flashlights, after 60 to 90 seconds, many of them will actually automatically step down from that high 2000 plus output down to, say, 700 lumen, 500 lumen, something like that. It's not a bug. It's simply there so that you don't actually start melting portions of your flashlight. Now, I talked a little bit about, a tail activated switch, a side switch like I did on the other one. And it kind of just depends on your philosophy of use. A lot of them have different complexities. For example, I'm going to talk to you a lot about this one. This is an Olight Arc Pro. Really impressed with this thing, but it has a lot of different options, settings, and buttons that have a lot of capabilities. And the reality is that maybe that's too complicated for you. And in a panic situation, maybe I do want just a quick one button and does everything. But something like this gives you a whole lot of different capabilities that you may want for your EDC flashlight. Now, some flashlights are made to be able to stand up on their tail cap. So you can actually put this one down here and it will stand up properly, whereas my EDC light will just fall right over. Again, part of the philosophy of use of the flashlight that you want to consider. Some people love flashlights that will stand on their tails, and in many cases, there's a great argument for that. Some of them, like this Torchy, are actually magnetized on the bottom. I can put it wherever I want and actually go hands-free with this flashlight. Again, so it's a feature that maybe you want, maybe you don't. Now, again, I am going through these in order of size, and mostly it's length, but when the links were really close, I went with the thinnest to the thickest, which is kind of a balance there, but I made the best judgment call I had. This is my old EDC light. I actually have this in a medical kit now, but this is the Through Night Archer. That's one of the old school ones. This is actually supposed to be green, but I used it so much I actually wore off most of the paint. It is USB-C charging right here in the neck, and I really like it. It's a good, easy pocket carry one. It did have a clip on here, but I got rid of the clip a long time ago. And as you can see by the results, it's okay for a very, very small flashlight. I mean, this is a very, very small flashlight. Here is my iPhone for reference. As you can see, it is very small, very easy to carry, very narrow, really easy. And as you can see from our outside results, it did okay. Not amazing, but again, for a really small flashlight, it was good. Now, the reason I got rid of it and I upgraded to the Through Night Archer Pro S, which you can see here, which is quite a bit bigger in size, is because I wanted more capability. This Through Night Archer Pro S is, again, USB-C chargeable. Button tail switch. It comes with the pocket clip, and it has the inverted one, so you can put it on the bill of a hat if you wish. Now, it is not, you cannot stand it up on its cap. Well, it kind of does stand on its tail cap if you're really careful. And again, but I sized up, right? I went with a bigger flashlight, and it's much, much thicker. And if you can see here, the circumference is quite a bit larger. And I do notice it in the pocket much more. If you look at the Civivi Praxis Mini, I guess is what it's called, that I had in my pocket, you can see how much thicker it is than a pocket knife when it comes to how it lays. So if you consider where the clips are to your pants. Next up, we have an Olight. This is the i5R EOS. It has a built-in rechargeable, a USB-C rechargeable battery. Not a built-in, excuse me. It's a removable USB-C rechargeable battery. This was actually what I bought originally to replace the Archer. It gives a little bit longer, has a little bit better output than the Archer. But there were, the thing I didn't really like about it, and this is one of the things I didn't like about either one of these, is that it cycles through with each press. So now it's on bright, and if I turn it off, when I turn it back on, it won't be on bright. Right? And so it cycles through, which is, again, not how I want my flashlight, but it's my EDC flashlight. So if I pull it out in a panic to shine it in somebody's face, if I'm, about to get mugged or something, some rapscallion is causing me issues, and I want to shine it in their face, I don't want to have to think about where I left the tail cap, right? I want it to just come on to the brightest setting. So next up, this is actually in one of my battle belts, and it's a chunky boy, as you can see, compared to these other ones. Reason that it's chunky, but it's not particularly long. I wish it was actually a little bit longer. It runs a CR123. You can stand it up on its tail, and it has some interesting functionality where it will go to a pure red light. And so what I do is when I put it into my belt, I leave it on the red light, and if I ever need to pull something off of my belt and look at something where I don't want to lose my night vision, I don't want to draw attention from around me, I have a red light nice and handy, and it actually reaches out pretty far if you change settings. And the tail cap only turns it on and off. It's actually controlled here in these buttons. Once you have it on the red light, it's always on the red light until you change it. So it's kind of dummy proof at night, unless you're just really, really dummy. Something I've gotten into a little bit, and it's these kind of rectangular flashlights. This is a Nightcore EDC23. It's meant for everyday carry. Has a lockout switch, which I'm not a huge fan of lockout switches, frankly, on a flashlight, because if it's an EDC flashlight, my philosophy of use on a pocket flashlight in EDC, when I pull it out, I want to be able to put it on the brightest setting immediately in a defensive situation. That's my primary concern, is being able to do that. Anything that inhibits that from happening is less optimal. And if I somehow, when I'm pulling this out, bump the lock and it locks out and I can't actually get anything to turn on, that just sucks. However, really nice interface. It's got a little display to show you your charge level, an amazingly great pocket clip. Although I wish it would actually recess further when it's actually in your pocket. About that much of it will actually stand out, how the clip's designed. It does have, one thing that's very, very cool though, is it has a panic strobe light, and that's the biggest light, but it's not the furthest one out. So they're actually different depths. And so when you pull it, you can go strobe, or you can go straight to the activation button, which will give you the last set light. So a lot of features about this one I really, really do like. It's quite narrow, like some of these other rectangular lights. The rectangular lights are kind of catching on popularity for some obvious reasons. They sit really well in the pocket. This is really about the biggest you're going to get in your pocket. Anything that's a bigger circumference than this, you're going to really want to look at having its own holster on your belt. This is a stream light. This is the Macro Stream USB. It's a pretty good flashlight. The downside is it's not USB-C, it's USB micro, which kind of sucks. I mean, that's kind of old school. Great pocket clip though on this one. It does have the bill, the ability to put it on a hat and aim it away from you. It's got 2 settings, which are pretty solid. When it comes to circumference, again, it's a teeny bit bigger than my current EDC, quite a bit longer. And on the brightest setting is actually fairly comparable to the through night. So I sized down with the through night. Next up is a Nebo Torchy. Now this one is not a button press one. This is a side switch. This is magnetic like I showed earlier, and it has a magnetic charging, so it's very similar to the Olight charging system. The clip on it is not as strong as I would like, frankly, and it does have the reverse hat bill thing, so you can put it on your hat. This one is, you button on. It's very, very good build quality. It's got a little bit of a bezel on the front. The magnetic thing's really cool. The charging's great. The output of it is very good at night. What I don't like about it, again, is I would prefer a tail switch. Now, again, it's the circumference on that one is quite large, so you're not going to want that in your pocket. You're going to want that in a holster or, in a taco pouch on your chest rig or something. Next up is another Nitecore. This is the Nitecore EDC 27 UHI. Very similar to the 23, but quite a lot larger, as you can see. It's a lot longer, I should say. The actual thickness is identical, maybe a hair thinner than the 23. Similar panel that displays the battery and things on here. It actually shows, so it's right now, it says 15 lumen. Honestly, when it comes to flashlight, the time, I feel like everybody overestimates how long their flashlights last for. So I would expect, and also the lumen testing isn't always completely accurate either. So look at the reviews when you go buy a new flashlight you're not sure, because they're not always accurate. And I don't have the ability to test lumens and all the equipment involved. There's some folks on YouTube and other places on websites that are very dedicated and just totally into flashlights, and they test all these things. They test the lumen and the Candela and all this stuff. That's not me. But just be aware to look at the advertised versus what people say about it. Because a lot of times in the reviews, they'll actually tell you what testing they really did. Next up is the Through Night Black Scout Survival version of the V6. This one's really cool because it's got the standing tail cap, which provides some good capability. It has a really, really strong clip to put in your pocket, and the hat clip is amazingly strong. The cool thing about this one is the button is, again, on and off, but then there is a switch on the side that controls the brightness, and it then retains whichever setting you left it at. At the lowest setting is very low. And the reason that's really good, that I love having a very, very bright setting and some between and then a very, very low, is because if I don't want to lose my night vision, but I have to use a flashlight, having just a white light that is super, I think this is 10 lumen, but that's good, like a super low setting, so that you don't lose your night vision as bad if you have to deploy this to look at a map, etc. The other thing that's really cool about this is it has a very aggressive bezel, which is removable. So if you have to go through security, I have had to give up one of these bezels. It's on really tight. You can just put like a pin in between the bezels and twist it, and it'll pop off. But it's just threaded on there. This is a really good one. Again, the problem with this one though is it's actually super long. And then again, the Olight Arc Pro, the cream of the crop of my flashlights. Now, I do have some old Surefires that I bought back in the day, and they're, honestly not very good compared to modern flashlight technology. Flashlight technology has come a long way in the last 20 years since I got into EDC and preparedness, because I shelled out some honestly some decent money for some Surefires years ago, and compared to even some of the cheaper versions of things, these Through Night Archer Pro, for example, honestly, the Surefire doesn't even hold a candle to it because it's so old. It's not using LEDs, it's using the incandescent bulbs and the old mag lights. I've got some of those. I'm not bother showing you because again, they're just old, and the technology has gotten so much better. This one is by far the most advanced one. Again, this is 4 functions in one. You have the blue light. This is the lowest setting of blue light. Let me turn that up a little bit. Whoop. The higher setting of blue light, again, super good. It then has a really nice flood, and then a nice throw light, and being able to cycle through on this switch here, which also gives you the power indication along this side, and then the battery charge on this side. And also having a laser pointer is super handy, all built into one. So 4 functions, a whole bunch of different combos, because again, you can be doing the flood and activate the laser at the same time, and it really gives you some real cool capabilities. Again, has the magnetic charging on the base. It does stand up very nicely. USB-C charging on the side, so 2 different ways to charge this thing up. Again, the pocket clip is extremely beefy. The build quality on this is, frankly, it's fantastic. But it has some really nice grip texture to hold on to. It's kind of like right in that perfect size. It's very similar in size to a 4-inch pocket knife. It's not that much larger. So lots of different options when it comes to flashlights. And again, depending on your purpose, your philosophy of use, what you're trying to do with it, whether it's EDC, bug out bags, get home vehicle, bags, it's just an actual flashlight to throw in the glove box of your car. Lots to consider when you're looking at flashlights, and there are some amazing options. The flashlight game, like I've said earlier, has come a long way, and we are truly in a great time to be into flashlights, and now is a great time to get them. Again, check the links below for a lot of these different flashlights, but whatever your philosophy of use is when it comes to flashlights, put some effort into it, do some research, look at reviews, consider the features that you want, plus the actual design. Prioritize what's important to you to make the right decision. If you ended up enjoying this video, please smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. We'll see you next time.